We'll start it up because we'll say, I can do a better job than you can, and I'll show you. And that's how I started. Almost all the business I've run or started or thought about doing are business that I thought, this is not good enough, I can do a better job. So that's right. I have a simple 3-month rule, which is, it's fine for you to be in that distortion field, to be unreal for 3 months at a stretch. But then you need to come down to earth, and do a simple reality test. And just decide whether what I'm doing, what I've done, what I've achieved so far is going to get me to a stage where I will be able to feed myself and my family. And if that test works, then you go back up again. If that doesn't work, then you think. Did I answer your question?
I'm interested in people you've been working with. How did you decide which people to take on board with you, or which one is not? Do they have any characteristic, or maybe you didn't need anyone with you as well? But there's 55 people that are working with you. Who would you recommend to?
So 55 people were working. We're now down to about 20. We failed, almost failed last year. Okay, so for Avicena, I think the first 10 job offers that we made were to my classmates. And to a person, all of them were smart people, and all of them said no. Now, the first person that we actually did end up hiring was somebody who had worked with me in the past. Right? And he had a specific strength that I needed. I called him my fire and forget missile. I would point him in a certain direction and tell him to get something done and get done, irrespective of whether it was technology, content, write-up, execution, you take care of it. And so he believed in what you were doing, we believed what he was up to. That made sense. Now the 55 that we added here at Alchemy, we looked for a very specific flowchart. The first 2 years, the company was literally staffed. So we had 7 people, and of those 7, 4 were part-time working mothers. Because there was a big segment in Karachi that was not being served. And so they had great degrees in computer science, they'd started families, and they'd had trouble coming back into the workforce. And we knew a lot of them because I had gone to the same computer school, which is where the network comes in. So using the working mothers as a group, we were able to build technology that sold, that got noticed, and that created a lot of awareness about who we were and what we were doing. The problem is that a large majority of people want to work for winners. Nobody wants to work for an unknown. If you are able to hit milestones, or if you're able to create the perception that you're winning, then it is easier for you to hire people. But if you fail to create that perception, then it's very, very difficult. Now, once you've created that perception and you lose, you can still hire people. But creating that perception is the most difficult. Anyone else? No more questions?
I'd like to go back to Yogi's question. So I was like, do you find the unique, awesome $1 billion idea, or do you go with McDonald's?
Sorry about that.
Too late.
Okay. I would pick something that I can do or ship, or at least get part of it shipped in under 6 months or so. So if given the choice of ideas, I'd certainly pick a complex one, but I'd break that down into 3 or 6 month shippable components and then do them one by one. I think the problem is not ideas, the problem is execution. And if you can, so whenever you look at a concept, you have 2 problems. One is execution, the other is market risk, that the market will actually buy the product. Dog eat dog food. By running a shorter cycle, it's easy for you to test both. Now, if you're building a very, very complex product that will take years and years to build. And when you launch that product, and that's the very first time that you actually get customer feedback, you run an enormous amount of risk. So it's always better to try something or do something which is smaller. So if I look at Alchemy, for instance, we did human capital actuarial advisory first. Did that for a couple of months. Didn't work. But we made enough money to cover expenses. From there we went into risk training, which took off in a big way. From risk training we went into risk consulting, which still did very well. From risk consulting we went into risk software. From risk software then we branched out, and there are like 7 different areas dealing with market risk, credit risk, op risk, stress testing, asset liability management. We cracked them one by one. So if you look at the product that we have, right now we have 8 products. If we decided to build all 8 of them from day one, I would be talking about my 5th failure or 6th failure. But because we did this, and there was no grand design, I'm not a smart guy. It was not, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get here one by one by one. It was not like that. It was more a series of very fortunate accidents. I was having this conversation this morning with Philip. So the hardest lesson to learn as an entrepreneur is that I'd rather be lucky than right. And it's very, very difficult to accept.
Just real quickly, you mentioned about bringing on single mother, or not single mother,
Working mothers.
part-time working mothers. How important is it to use an entrepreneur to have a social focus to your business, to do more than just make money, or to make decisions with society's good in mind? Or is it even a factor? Was it just they were cheaper?
Okay, so I think it's a function of who you are as a person and as an individual and what drives you. My wife, Fazia, is a partner in this exercise. She has a significant amount of shares in this business, and the technology that we built is built by her team. The whole thing about working mothers started when Fazia had difficulty. We've been blessed by a daughter, and Fazia had just come back to work from a maternity leave, and she was having all sorts of issues at work because of the fact that she was a mother. And I think something happened and she just quit. She said, I've had it. And we said, do you have options to work part-time as a mother? And there weren't any options available in Karachi at that point in time. That made sense. So I asked her, we'd already started something. So we had 1 or 2 working mothers who were working with us already. And yes, you were right that A, they were cheaper. Yes, you're right that they were the only people who were willing to work at Alchemy at that point in time. But at the same time, whenever we hit a hard patch, when almost everybody in the organization was ready to quit, the people who kept it going is this original 4 people. And there was a time when there were 4 of them, and we used to call them the Powerpuff Girls, because nothing in the office could get done without their buy-in and their consent.
Guys, we probably have time for one more question.
How did you overcome your challenges in international? Did you ever think that you cannot make it big in this country?
In the US?
In the US, or did you have any visa concerns to start with? I mean, could you open a business in the first place in your name?
Alright,
so many questions.
So can we go off camera, please?
That's fine. I will talk to you later.
No, that's fine.